This is Valley News Live at 5:30.
And we begin with breaking news. A 16-year-old is in custody and a 28-year-old is dead after a shooting at a motel in North Bismarck. Now, Bismarck police say that witnesses and other evidence led them to believe that the juvenile shot 28-year-old Maurice Thundershield in the chest and then fled the scene. Law enforcement say that their investigation led them to Warren, Minnesota, where they took the 16-year-old into custody. He is currently in a juvenile detention facility in Minnesota, waiting on the extradition process to Burleigh County, where he will face murder charges. Now tonight, a Jamestown man is in custody after what authorities say was a series of burglaries. Police say that the same place was hit a few different times between July 10th and today. This morning, police served a search warrant and say that 31-year-old Sanford Williams was arrested without incident and charged with 4 counts of felony burglary. He was transported to Stutsman County Corrections. The incident remains under investigation. And it's been a gloomy, chilly, and now rainy day across the valley, and it sounds like we'll be experiencing more of the same tonight under those Friday night lights. Let's get the latest from meteorologist Jim Gash. Jim?
Thanks, Bobby. Right now we're taking a look down near the North Dakota-South Dakota border where those winds are whipping those flags, and there's a little bit of rain hanging around that area. Temperatures across the region right now are largely in the 50s for those in Minnesota, while we have 60s for those in North Dakota. We have some upper 60s down south in South Dakota, but most places are in the mid to upper 60s or 50s. Our sky conditions here on the visible satellite, we have clouds entrenched through much of the region. This little area near Devil's Lake had some break in the clouds for a little bit, and that allowed their temperatures to get a little higher, but we do have that area as those clouds filled in. We do have some showers starting to pop up there, and I'll keep an eye on that, as that could be an area for some development. We do have widespread showers throughout much of the region, and this area between Ada and Mahnomen up to Fosston through Red Lake County will continue to see some moderate rain through the evening time hours. However, we do have some dry time coming in tomorrow, and I'll let you know when you can expect that coming up.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. You're going to have a lot to go over. Well, authorities are trying to figure out what caused a train to hit and kill a man in downtown Fargo. Overnight, police were called shortly after midnight to the 400 block of North Broadway. They say a possible witness called it in, and officers discovered the victim's body. Now, right now, no other information is being released at this time. And a Moorhead dad is sending out a warning tonight after his daughter was hit by a car while walking home from school last week. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie spoke with him today. Tonight on Valley News Live at 10, he shares the video and his story to remind drivers to slow down. The sergeant assigned to supervise convicted murderer Chad Isaak the day he died has now been fired. DeAndre Adams was fired after an internal investigation showed that he did not perform proper checks on inmates on Sunday, July 31st. Officials say that Isaac's cellmate left the cell for about an hour, during which time a piece of cardboard was placed in the window to obstruct the view. Adams walked past the cell during that time, but did not follow procedure to remove the cardboard to check on Isaak. The cellmate returned to find Isaak hanging himself. Adams had 2 previous disciplinary actions in his personnel file. He has the option to appeal his firing within 15 working days. We have continuing coverage of a deadly hit and run in Foster County. The North Dakota Attorney General is expressing his concerns about political violence. 18-year-old Kaylor Ellingson was hit and killed following a street dance in McHenry, North Dakota last weekend. Police say the driver admitted to hitting Ellison on purpose, saying that he was in fear himself following a political argument. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says, quote, "The loss of a young life is always a tragedy. Outrageously in this case, it is alleged that the suspect admitted that his actions were motivated by a dispute over political beliefs. There is no place in civil society for this hateful violence," end quote. Wrigley added, "Political violence has become all too common and must come to an end." And Wrigley says the Bureau of Criminal Investigation is now working on this investigation along with Foster County and the AG's office. Well, Election Day is a little less than 2 months away, but early voting begins today in Minnesota. And Minnesota state officials are reminding everyone to check their registration and update it if needed. Starting now, voters can either request an absentee ballot and vote from home, or you can vote early in person at your local election office in Minnesota. And remember, some towns in Minnesota only vote by mail. Those ballots will be sent out today. North Dakota begins early voting late next week. Meanwhile, dueling speeches today between President Joe Biden and House Republicans highlight stark differences between the two parties heading into the midterm elections. Meanwhile, former President Trump is making a big financial push to try to get his candidates over the finish line in November. Deborah Alfarone has more from Washington.
At a political rally in Washington, President Biden laid out what he believes is a stark choice less than 50 days before the midterm elections.
This November, you have to choose to be a nation of hope, unity, and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and darkness.
Ahead of the president's speech, House Republicans, led by Kevin McCarthy, were in the battleground state of Pennsylvania to unveil their commitment to America. It's a roadmap for GOP legislative priorities with 4 pillars: a strong economy, public safety, individual freedom, and government accountability.
On our very first bill, we're going to repeal 87,000 IRS agents.
In his speech, President Biden slammed the House GOP plan, which he said was, quote, thin with little or no details.
We didn't hear him mention the right to choose. We didn't hear him mention Medicare. We didn't hear him mention Social Security.
McCarthy could be poised to take the Speaker's gavel if Republicans can flip just a few House seats.
I challenge the president to join with us. Let's go across the country and let's debate what his policies has done to America and our plan for a new direction.
Former President Trump has also been pushing for big GOP gains this November and continues to stump for his picks across the country. CBS News has confirmed the former president is also launching a new political action committee, or PAC, to give Trump-endorsed candidates a multi-million-dollar boost heading into the final campaign stretch. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Tonight, former President Trump will headline a political rally for candidates he's endorsed in North Carolina. Around the same time, President Biden will host a concert with Sir Elton John at the White House. The concert, called A Night When Hope and History Rhyme, is expected to be televised at a later date. Well, $14 million will be handed out in an educational partnership between the North Dakota Tribal College System and 3 businesses for apprenticeship programs. Hess Corporation donated $12 million to the fund, while Neighbors Inc. and Halliburton each donated $1 million. The money will help fund internships and apprenticeships to help students get ready for employment.
Often, these internships and apprenticeships are the ticket to get people moving towards that lifetime of learning.
Unemployment remains very low in North Dakota. There are 13,000 more people working in the state than in August of 2021. And there's promising progress for a Minnesota football player who suffered a serious head injury during a high school game in Moorhead earlier this month. Connor Erickson, a senior captain on the Brainerd football team, has been taken off of the ventilator. His family says that he was also just moved out of the pediatric ICU. He is now receiving care in a standard pediatric room. They say there is still a long road to recovery ahead, but this was a huge step in the right direction. And the Red River Valley Fair Association is throwing their 2nd annual Lost in the Valley event. The event includes a corn maze and a pumpkin patch, along with activities for all ages. The corn maze opens today, and the pumpkin patch opens on October 1st.
It's just a fun event for all ages. We have our Days in the Maze events for 21 and older. We have some kids activities like our strawberry maze, pallet maze. We have a little stone maze, so tons of fun for everyone.
For tickets and more information, you can visit the Red River Valley Fair's website. And it was a historic night for the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks. The team won its first American Association championship since joining the league back in 2011. The Redhawks defeated the Milwaukee Milkmen in an instant classic winner-take-all Game 5. The Redhawks were down by 6 runs before rallying to win it all in the bottom of the 10th inning. Manager Chris Coste said that this win means the world to his team and the organization, and we'll have more on their win tonight on Valley News Live at 6 o'clock.